Hey guys, tonight we're heading back, way back, to ancient Egypt, where the sun is blinding, the Nile is muddy, and your tunic, well, it smells like 3 days of fish, incense, and camel sweat. You're not a pharaoh, you're not a priest, you're just a regular person trying to keep your linen tunic from turning into a mobile ecosystem. Good luck, you'll need it. You start your morning sticky and already tired. The air feels like it's been ladled out of a soup pot. You can't turn on a faucet, and there's no corner store selling detergent pods. And yet, everyone still judges you by your clothes. How clean they are, how crisp, how white. Somehow, people in 2500 BCE still manage to look like walking billboards for pressed linen. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop a comment with your location and the time where you're watching. It's always amazing to see how far these sleepy journeys travel. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You trudge toward the edge of your village. The sand gets into everything, your sandals, your sleeves, your teeth. Even your clothes seem to sweat. You're wrapped in a single layer of linen, dyed faintly off-white but stained by everything from dates to donkey spit. Laundry isn't a once-a-week thing, it's an everyday thing. The desert dust doesn't care about your schedule. The minute you've finished washing, another gust hits, and your robes are back to looking like they were used to mop the temple steps. Everyone wears linen. It's not a fashion choice, it's survival. Wool is for crazy people from colder places. Linen breathes, it wicks sweat, and most importantly, it grows well along the Nile, which is fortunate because you're going to need a lot of it. In fact, some households own dozens of pieces per person. Tunics, loincloths, shawls, head wraps. The upper classes practically hoard it, layering and rotating outfits the way modern influencers do sneakers. But just because it's linen doesn't mean it stays clean. Ancient Egypt smells earthy. Sweet reeds from the marshes, bitter smoke from burnt offerings, and something more human. Imagine a warm breeze mixed with honey and livestock. You can't ignore your own scent either. There's no deodorant, no shampoo, and the Nile doesn't offer warm water on demand. Bathing for most people is a rinse and a prayer. Washing clothes becomes a social signal. It's not just about dirt, it's about dignity. Step out in a dirty tunic, and the baker down the road will accidentally drop a comment about the state of your armpits. Your neighbor, always suspiciously clean, clearly spends every morning scrubbing her hemline by the river like it's a national sport. So you follow the routine. Grab your wash bundle, rolled tight into a woven basket, and join the stream of others headed toward the banks of the Nile. Everyone's got their laundry day face on. Weary, sun-squinting, mildly resigned. Children run ahead, chasing each other with reeds. A dog barks at a goose with no interest in moving. You find your usual patch of riverbank, a flat rock near a fig tree with just enough shade. Others nod at you as they settle in nearby, lifting up baskets and laying out tunics, kilts, even temple aprons that probably belong to someone who hasn't lifted a finger in decades. The process is rhythmic. First, soak the clothes in the river water, which is not exactly crystal clear. You pretend not to notice the silt, the fish, the occasional passing crocodile. Just a small one, hopefully. You slap the tunic against a rock to knock loose some of the dust. Then, grab a handful of natron, or if you're poorer, just ash mixed with sand, and start scrubbing. Natron is magical, in a mildly abrasive, painfully drying way. It's a naturally occurring salt, good for mummification and laundry. Multitasking. You massage it into the fabric with a rhythm passed down by generations. Slap, scrub, rinse, repeat. Your knuckles are raw after 2 minutes, and you've still got 3 tunics and a head wrap to go. Historians still argue whether the ancient Egyptians truly preferred their linen snow white for symbolic reasons, or whether that was more of a priestly obsession. All you know is white stains easily, especially when your daily life involves oil, dirt, wine, and goats. A fringe theory suggests that some poorer Egyptians deliberately left their linens unbleached, a beige that better disguised daily grime. You personally think that sounds wise, even if the temple guards would probably snub their noses at it. The sun climbs higher, and now the riverbank is full. People gossip as they scrub. One woman swears her husband spilled wine on his best kilt on purpose to get out of attending a relative's wedding. Another says the pharaoh's niece was seen wearing wool. Imagine the scandal. You smile though you say nothing. Later, at the evening market, you pass stalls selling cones of incense, blocks of compressed natron, and mysterious brownish cakes that might be soap, though nobody calls them that. A trader boasts that his cakes contain 7 secret ingredients, including crocodile breath. You raise an eyebrow and keep walking. One fringe rumor you've heard, probably false, is that some elite households used crushed gemstones in their laundry process, not for cleaning, for energy. Supposedly, amethyst made whites whiter, and carnelian brought luck to the wearer. You imagine explaining that to your aunt when she sees you scrubbing laundry with jewelry. Back at home, you stow away your clean garments in a reed chest. Everything folded. Everything smelling vaguely of wind, oil, and pride. But as you do, you remember there's more to this laundry business than daily wear. There's the other kind, the kind wrapped around the dead. Your cousin recently assisted in a burial. She told you the prep took days. The linen used for mummification isn't just clean, it's holy. Strips and strips of it, often in hundreds, sometimes over 1,000 pieces, all washed, purified, and wrapped around the body with sacred oils and spells. Some of these linens are so finely woven, their threads are almost invisible. They're not made for daily use. They're spun for eternity, and every wrap is layered with care, with intention. The linen itself is part of the spellwork. To the Egyptians, cleanliness was more than aesthetics. It was protection. A clean garment didn't just please the gods. It shielded you. It preserved you. In life, and especially in death. Historians still argue whether the same linen types were used for the living and the dead. Some believe mortuary linen came from temple stockpiles, while others think it was woven specifically for burial. Either way, the act of washing, perfuming, and preparing it was sacred. And often women did it. Trusted women. Women like you. You light a small oil lamp as the light fades. The smoke curls upward, soft and slow. Around you, the evening hum begins. Distant voices, market noise fading, a child giggling through a cracked doorway. You lean back and close your eyes, letting the air wash over you. Laundry in ancient Egypt isn't just about the grime. It's about the rhythm, the repetition, the community. It's about memory. Yesterday's dust washed away, tomorrow's linen ready to carry a new stain, a new scent, a new story. And here you are, just one person, in one small courtyard, folding the fabric of a civilization. You wake early the next morning, not to birdsong, but to the slap-slap of linen on stone. Your neighbor's already at it, and from the rhythm she's working through something emotionally. You stretch, blink away the sleep, and reach for the clean tunic you folded last night. Crisp, light, still smelling faintly of sesame and sunlight. But today isn't an ordinary wash day. Today you've been asked to help with something bigger, cleaning the temple linen stores. It's a rare honor and a tedious one. The kind of job people thank you for once and never again. You pack a light meal, bread, dried dates, and a single fig, and set off. At the temple, the air feels different, heavier, sacred. Even the dust seems to float more slowly. The head launderer, an older man with hands like twisted rope, greets you with a nod. No words, just a gesture toward the bundles of ceremonial cloth already stacked by the basin. You begin. These linens aren't ordinary. Some are woven so fine you can see your palm through them. Others are thick, embroidered in sacred patterns meant only for rituals, shimmering with faint traces of gold thread or scarab green dye. You handle each with the care of a priest, though your job is far more sudsy. The process here is stricter. Soak, yes, but with filtered water from the temple well, no river mud allowed. Scrub, but only on the inside. The outer layer must look untouched, and no drying on the ground. Everything must be air-hung, shaded, guarded from wind, birds, or, heaven forbid, temple cats. Historians still debate the roles of these temple laundries. Were they a form of devotion, a subcaste of sacred servitude, or simply an elite version of everyday labor wrapped in incense and rules? You suspect it's all three, and none. The work is quiet. You fall into a rhythm. Soak, gently scrub, rinse, repeat. There's a calming dullness to it, a peace in the predictability. Even your thoughts begin to smooth out. Then, something catches your eye. A linen sash, soft as breath, embroidered not with symbols, but with words. Very old ones. You can't read the full inscription, but you recognize a name. A woman's, possibly a priestess, possibly forgotten. It hits you, gently, but firmly. This cloth, like so many, has outlived the person who wore it. And now you're touching it, folding it, preparing it to be worn again. It's a cycle you never quite noticed until now. These are different. You don't own them. You've been entrusted with them, and they must be handled like relics, because they are relics. One wrong move, and you'll have a priest storming down from the sanctuary, demanding to know why his ceremonial kilt smells like barley mash. You lay the temple cloths in a shallow basin lined with smooth pebbles, no rough surfaces, no hard soap, just Nile water and a soft touch. These garments are typically finer than yours, closer weaved, almost translucent, and embroidered with tiny red or gold threads that catch the light like scarab shells. Temple laundry is done in silence. No jokes, no humming. You half expect the gods themselves to start grading your rinse cycle. It's also rumored, though you've never dared ask, that if a temple cloth is soiled beyond redemption, it must be ritually burned. Not because of shame, but because the garment, once unclean, is no longer fit for divine service. And here's the kicker. Some priests change outfits multiple times a day. The purification rituals are intense. Wash the body, wash the clothes, avoid anything unclean, including, hilariously, people like you, at least until their laundry is done. You can't help but laugh softly at the irony. When you finish the last ceremonial wrap, you fold it into a linen pouch and tie it with a reed string. You place it to the side, careful not to let it touch anything else. That's another hour of labor, and the sun hasn't even started to descend yet. Back in your own courtyard, the air is heavier now. The heat has become a blanket, draped over every corner. Your hands are raw. Your calves are sore from the squatting and stomping. But the clothes, they're clean. The scent of sun-dried linen and distant lotus oil floats in the air like incense for commoners. You stretch your arms overhead and listen. For once, there's a lull. No shouting, no slapping of cloth, just the wind, the occasional cluck of a hen, and the faraway creak of a well pulley. Laundry might be endless, but in this rare moment of stillness, it feels almost sacred. The heat finally begins to break as the afternoon winds roll in, still warm, but mercifully gentler. You take a moment to splash your face with leftover water from the basin, then sit back against the mud brick wall of the courtyard. Clean clothes hang around you like banners, swaying in rhythm with your breathing. You've earned this pause. But rest is relative, because no matter how much washing you do, you can't quite wash away smell. The ancient Egyptians were obsessed with scent, both divine and disgusting. Not because they were particularly vain, though, let's be honest, vanity always finds a way, but because they had to be. Bathing wasn't daily for most, and soap, as we know it, simply didn't exist. So how did they deal? You sniff under your arm. Still vaguely sweaty, but improved. You've done worse. Scent was survival, a way to mark cleanliness, health, even status. For the wealthy, this meant perfume cones. Yes, actual cones of waxy fat and fragrant oil placed on the head. They melted slowly in the heat, releasing scent through the hair like a divine diffuser. It sounds elegant until you imagine trying not to let melted myrrh drip into your lentils. For you and the rest of the working class, scent is simpler. You rub a bit of crushed mint or basil onto your neck, maybe a spritz of water that sat overnight with orange peels. Some people go bolder, rubbing frankincense resin directly onto skin. Others, more desperate, have been known to carry sachets of dried herbs tucked into their waistbands, a walking potpourri pouch. Historians still debate how widespread these practices were. Temple records describe priests bathing in natron and scented oils, but whether the average farmer had time for such luxuries is unclear. You suspect most people just did what they could and hoped no one got too close. And if your body couldn't smell perfect, at least your clothes might. Especially if you added drops of oil to the final rinse. A few lotus petals, if you were lucky. Your cousin once used a sprig of tamarisk, claiming it kept bugs away. It also made her smell like tree bark for a week. But scent wasn't just personal. It was spiritual. Offerings to gods often included incense and fragrant oils. Linen cloth used for temple rituals was sometimes perfumed ahead of time. Some texts suggest certain gods preferred specific aromas. Hathor liked sweet myrrh, while Set apparently tolerated spicier blends. Of course, Set would. As you gather your folded clothes, a neighbor appears, holding a bottle of something thick and golden. Sesame oil, she explains, for the collars, keeps them soft. You accept the bottle with thanks and pour a bit onto your hands. It glides on smooth, and you rub it into the rough edge of your older tunic. It does help, and it masks the faint scent of yesterday's lentil stew. Progress. Mildly embarrassing. You gather the last of your linen, heavier now with sun and salt. It's not perfect, but it's cleaner than before. You hoist the basket and begin the walk back through the edge of the fields. The reeds rustle beside you. A farmer nods from behind his oxen. Someone waves a damp tunic overhead like a victory flag. Back home, you lay out the clothes one last time in the courtyard. Just a few more minutes of drying time. The clay tiles underfoot are warm now, and you let yourself breathe. Even the act of folding and putting away your clothes has a rhythm to it. Quiet, repetitive, oddly satisfying. In your little corner of the world, cleanliness is both a battle and a badge of honor. You may not have perfume or silk or copper jewelry like the elite, but when you step out tomorrow, you'll be wearing a tunic scrubbed by your own hands. That means something. Your neighbor pops her head over the wall. "Laundry day?" she asks. You smile, faintly. every day. She nods like a sage. That's the way it is. And it is. Because in a land where sand invades every corner of life, cleanliness isn't just next to godliness, it's a full-time job. Word count, 1063, section 3. The sun is still blazing, but your skin has adjusted, or maybe it's just given up resisting. You sit in the courtyard with your basket now empty, save for the satisfaction of clean linen. But you're not done. Not even close. Because you're not the only one in the household with clothes to wash. Not by a long stretch. Today, you're helping with the household wash. The real bulk stuff. It's not glamorous. It's not even quiet. You're dealing with layers of linens from elders, children, servants, and perhaps even some borrowed temple garments that have mysteriously made their way into your possession. There's a hierarchy to it, unwritten but strictly followed. You start with the lightest garments, sheer veils, loincloths, soft wraps that tear easily if scrubbed like camel tack. These pieces get the gentle rock slap method. Soak, slap lightly on a smooth stone, rinse with fresh Nile water hauled in buckets by the kids, and lay out on woven mats. The heavier pieces, though, those get the stomp treatment. Yes, you heard that right. Ancient Egyptian washermen and washerwomen often stomped clothing like grapes, grinding out filth with their feet in large stone basins. There's something oddly therapeutic about it. The squish of damp linen underfoot, the rhythmic motion. It turns a chore into a full-body meditation. Well, until someone slips and knocks over a whole bucket. "Careful!" someone yells, half laughing. You shake your head. That was your bucket. These stomping sessions aren't private either. They're often done in shared courtyards, side yards, even temple-adjacent open spaces where washing can double as a social event. A mildly exhausting, foot-aching, gossip-fueled social event. There's a washerman 2 courtyards over who always hums a tune. Some claim it's an old hymn, others think he's making it up as he goes. Whatever it is, it syncs perfectly with the squish of his feet in the basin. You unconsciously match your rhythm to his. Historians still argue whether these washerfolk were employed full-time or worked as seasonal laborers. Some records suggest wealthy homes had dedicated launderers, while others imply it was more of a communal hustle, a service traded for bread, beer, or a favor from the local scribe. You're definitely not being paid in silver. A fringe detail you've picked up from older relatives. Some families add crushed lotus petals or even powdered turquoise into the final rinse for good energy. You're skeptical, but the clothes do smell a little sweeter when you're done. The drying process is just as important as the wash. A poorly dried tunic will smell like swamp frog for days. So you string the garments up on ropes or drape them carefully over pottery and reed lattices. Each item must be turned halfway through, flapped lightly to shake out wrinkles, and, if you're feeling extra, folded while still warm from the sun. It's an art. You glance at a neighboring rooftop where someone has laid out their wash flat across clay tiles. It's a bold move. The pigeons, after all, have no mercy. As you go through the motions, you begin to appreciate just how integral laundry is to your life. Not just as a task, but as a rhythm, a pattern stitched into the hours of the day. You clean the clothes of people you love, people you tolerate, even people you've never met. And every piece tells you something. That linen wrap with the red wine blotch? Probably from your uncle, who insists his elbows are just expressive. The child's tunic with the berry stains? She's been sneaking figs again. And that embroidered edge on the headscarf? You didn't know it was still being worn. You smile. Then, there are the temple pieces. Talking while scrubbing is fine, but you've got to keep pace. You look up and catch sight of a priest walking by in a robe that looks like it's never touched sand in its life. There's no way he washed that himself. Temple laundries, you hear, are immaculate. Entire teams devoted to making sure ceremonial robes are as clean as the gods expect them to be. Meanwhile, your elbow itches from natron burn. At last, you wring out the last tunic and lay it flat on a reed mat to dry in the sun. The breeze makes it flap softly, like sails on a distant bark. You sit back, arms tired, clothes soggy, but feeling strangely accomplished. You've participated in one of the most ancient daily rituals of humanity. Washing your own clothes, by hand, in a river older than your language. And yes, they'll be dusty again by tomorrow. That's the deal. You live in a world where the sun is merciless, the gods are everywhere, and laundry never ends. You don't wait long before the sun begins doing its part. The linen dries quickly, too quickly, really. The breeze isn't enough to keep the edges from curling like dried papyrus scrolls. You flick a corner of your tunic flat and eye the rest of the batch, gauging which will be dry enough to fold before the crows get too interested. Ancient Egyptian clothing at its core is simple. No zippers, no buttons, just clean lines, loose drapes, and folds that breathe in this heat like they've studied it. Most people wear a basic white or off-white kilt or sheath dress, tied with a belt or cord. The linen is thin, sometimes sheer, and always in high demand. That's not because people are obsessed with looking stylish, though vanity, of course, exists in all centuries, but because linen has literal divine approval. You hear a snort from the next patch of grass. A boy no older than 12 is holding up what might be a tunic, or maybe a deflated linen sack with sleeves. He grimaces and plunges it back into the water, clearly new to this. One of the older women nearby cackles gently. "You'll learn," she says, wringing out her own dress expertly. "Or you'll marry someone who has." The sun catches the fresh linen in waves, and for a brief moment, the drying garments look almost holy, flags of purity fluttering over the gritty lives of those who wear them. It's a small grace. What's not so graceful is what goes into keeping those garments white. You remember someone once boasting about using crushed ostrich eggs for a whitening effect. Another swears by fermented goat's milk. Neither sounded pleasant, and both smelled like lies. More realistically, people bleach their linen with sun, elbow grease, and repeated rinses. Over and over. Some even add chalk powder or white clay to improve brightness. Whether it worked or just looked dusty is up for debate. Historians still argue whether Egyptian linen was truly white or whether modern reconstructions just assume it was, based on temple art and burial wrappings. What we do know is that the finer and whiter the linen, the higher your status, or at least the higher your laundry standards. Priests were said to change multiple times a day, cycling through outfits like ancient influencers with brand deals from Ra himself. Now imagine owning only 2 pieces of clothing. That's normal for many folks. One for the body, one drying in the sun. You rotate them like bread and beer rations. And heaven help you if you get them both dirty at once. It's why laundry is often a shared responsibility. Entire households work as one laundry unit, especially when family sizes rival livestock herds. Children might help with rinsing or laying garments flat. Elders, if their joints allow, scrub the more delicate pieces, whispering complaints about how no one folds things properly anymore. You pick up a half-dry tunic, give it a brisk snap, and fold it carefully. It's not a neat fold. more of a respectful wrangle. Then you stack the clothes back into your basket in reverse order. The dry ones on the bottom, the damper ones up top, so they get a little more sun on the walk home. A few meters away, someone is complaining about soap, or rather, the lack of it. I heard the Nubians use lye from tree bark, one man says, dunking a particularly sad-looking loincloth. Tree bark? Another replies. That's for making arrows, not soap. I'll stick with natron, thank you. There's a pause. Someone mutters something about urine. You pretend you didn't hear it. Fringe records do suggest that some cultures, not necessarily the Egyptians, used aged urine in cleaning. The ammonia helps remove stains. It also, quite frankly, removes your desire to live in those moments. Whether Egyptians embraced this method is still unclear, but if they did, no one's bragging about it on the riverbank. You glance down the shoreline and notice the quiet hum of labor around you. It's almost peaceful, until someone loses a slipper in the river. It floats downstream like an ancient tweet, short-lived, and linen in Egypt lives longer than people. It moves from person to person, ceremony to ceremony, washed, worn, buried, unearthed, repurposed. Some of the bandages found in tombs were once garments. Tunics cut into strips turned sacred in death. Even the afterlife has laundry. You smile at the absurdity. Somewhere, in the field of reeds, there's probably a god of clean linen quietly judging your rinse technique. After the final piece is folded, you're given a token of thanks, a small vial of scented oil and half a honey cake. You bow, accept it, and step out into the street, where the sun is already beginning its climb. The road home is familiar. You pass women fetching water, boys chasing donkeys, and someone hauling baskets of natron, the white dust kicking up behind them like smoke. You wave. They wave back. At home, your courtyard greets you with stillness. No laundry today, nothing hanging, nothing drying. Just the quiet hum of air and the faint flap of a palm frond in the breeze. You sit and breathe. And for the first time in what feels like forever, your hands are empty. No tunics to scrub, no collars to rub raw. Just clean skin, clean clothes, and the strange, soothing sense that you've been part of something older than language. Laundry in ancient Egypt isn't a chore, it's a tether. It ties you to the people around you, the past behind you, and, somehow, the gods above you. You may never own gold, or speak to the pharaoh, or see your name etched into stone. But today, your work is woven into the fabric of the world. And tomorrow? Well, there will always be more laundry. As the last warmth of the day fades, you sit still in your courtyard, bathed in the soft hush of evening. The rush of tasks has slowed. The linen is folded. The dust, for now, has settled. The Nile continues to flow somewhere in the distance, steadily, softly, as it always has. A breeze rolls in, lifting the corner of your tunic and brushing your cheek like a whisper from time itself. You exhale slowly, your arms resting, your shoulders dropping, your heartbeat syncing with the rhythm of ancient hands washing fabric under the sun. You're part of something timeless, something both ordinary and sacred. From the echo of temple chants to the splash of children at the riverbank, the rituals of laundry, of cleanliness, of care, are stitched into the very weave of your world. And even now, as sleep begins to weigh gently behind your eyes, you can still feel it. The pulse of a civilization that never truly stopped folding, scrubbing, and smoothing its linens beneath the stars. So let that rhythm lull you now. Let the stillness of the courtyard wrap around you like soft, sun-dried cloth. No more movement, No more sound, just the slow drift into rest, carried gently on the breeze of memory and myth. You've done enough for today, and tomorrow can wait. If you made it this far and your eyes are still open, well, first of all, congratulations. But seriously, if you enjoyed this journey and want more slow, sleepy stories just like this, take a second to like the video and subscribe. It genuinely helps more than you'd think. And now, finally, let the stillness of the courtyard wrap around you like soft, sun-dried cloth. No more movement, no more sound, just the slow drift into rest, carried gently on the breeze of memory and myth.